In this tutorial, I want to step back a little from where we've reached so far, in that here we'll look at further editing a project in terms of making life easier by copying events, a single event, onto the timeline. We'll start with copying events so that we can maximize productivity in that we don't need to keep dragging the same event onto our timeline. Now I know it's not a big chore dragging and dropping from the project media window, but I just want to show you a different method of doing it. Before I do, you might be asking, why would I want to copy the same event to our timeline a number of times? Well, for a couple of reasons. The first being I'm aware that not everyone using Vegas Pro 12 will be creating a music video, and therefore I want to ensure I cover everyday functions too that you'll want to know about. Also, secondly, with our event clips, I might want to copy to the timeline a few times so that I can trim away different regions. Anyway, just before I do show you these different methods of copying events, I'll remind you if we did want to drag and drop from the project media window, we could do this simply by left-clicking and dragging down to our timeline, and as expected, that places the event at the position that we left it at. And of course, we could move it should we want to. And from this point, if we did want to add another version of this event, then we go back to the project media window, select the same file again, and quite simply duplicate our movements, as we've just done, and for as many times as required. Okay, so now that I've done that 3 times, well, of course, we've got 3 separate versions of the same event on our timeline. Okay, that's easy enough, especially if we only want to use a limited amount of events. Incidentally, if we want to use the whole event but have it repeat, which is effectively what I've just done here, there's a quick way of doing it. Let me show you this method. Well, it involves taking advantage of a function called switches. First of all, though, let me remove these 2 copied instances of this event. I'll select them and hit delete, and I'll do the same thing for the other one. Right, the function that I'm talking about is switches, which can be accessed by right-clicking on your event and choosing switches. However, at my present screen resolution, you'll not see this option. It's just off screen, so I'll show you a different method of accessing the same function. Go to Edit and then roll down to Switches, and then fly out to the right to see the loop option is confirmed. So by leaving that confirmed, if I left-click at the right edge of my event, I can extend the event length, and what it's doing is repeating or looping the event length to take in multiple copies of the same event. And this stretches across our timeline for as long as we extend it. Now I want to undo it, so I'll go up to Edit and hit Undo. And then now, if I go to Edit once more and down to Switches, and then fly out and deactivate Loop, notice what happens. Again, I'll left-click on the edge and drag to the right. Now by doing this, we still extend our event length, and it does appear, I admit, by those thumbnails there, that we've repeated the clip. We haven't, we just added a static last frame repeat to the end to cover the length of the audio repeating. And that's because the audio looped or repeated, because what we did is we only deactivated loop on our switches function for the video part of the event. Now by moving my cursor across here, notice the thumbnail simply displays the extended single frame. Okay, so I'll go up to Edit once more and undo that. Now I'll select the audio event and then go up to Edit, down to Switches, and then I'll de-click to deactivate Loop for the audio part of this. And therefore now when I left click and extend this, the final frame does get repeated for the video, but the audio doesn't. And you'll see the blank area after the audio ends at the natural end of our clip. If I move my CTI across our timeline at different positions like this, then we see the thumbnail frame in our main monitor update where our clip is live, as it were. But once we get to the last frame, now admittedly it's blurred, but once we do get to that last frame, it simply extends. Okay, now I'm going to finish this tutorial now that we've looked at loop switching, as it's known, and in the next tutorial we'll follow up by not only repeating or copying elements, our events, onto our timeline, but I'll show you a different method of copying certain areas across multiple clips or multiple events so that we can copy that and paste it further down our timeline. Okay, see you in a moment.